Well, a special election for a state representative race in Alabama has now drawn national headlines as the legacy media looks to push a narrative regarding abortion. When Democratic candidate Marilyn Landis won a special election Tuesday to capture State House District 10, national pundits and even the White House rushed to claim this result represents a referendum on abortion. But was that really the case? Joining me now to help break down this election and tell us a little bit more about what was really happening, FRC Action Director Matt Carpenter. Matt, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Great to be with you.
All right, first of all, explain what happened on Tuesday in this special election.
All right, so as you pointed out, Tony, we had a special election to fill a vacant seat in Alabama's the Alabama House of Representatives District 10. This is a northern Alabama district outside of Huntsville, Alabama, where Democrat Marilyn Landis prevailed against Republican Teddy Powell, 62% to 38%. And Tony, that is a 30-point swing over the last election in 2022. This district has sort of been regarded as a swing district in the Alabama House of Representatives for some time. The previous incumbent was a Republican who won it by 6 points, so this represents a 30-point swing towards the Democrats.
So how did this issue play into the election, the issue of abortion? Now, Alabama, we know that the IVF case was there before the Alabama Supreme Court, but turnout was also a factor in this race, was it not?
Absolutely, Tony. I was looking at some precinct-level data, and if you compare the turnout that happened earlier this week in this special election to the 2022 midterm election, it's just 40% of that result. And if you back up even further to the 2020 general election, where you have even more turnout than you do in a midterm generally, you're looking at more like a 35% turnout. So this is a super low turnout election. And you pointed out in your early remarks, Tony, kind of the White House using this as planting a flag for their reelection strategy for President Biden, touting this abortion issue generally. And I would point out, you have this confluence of a super low turnout election with a candidate in Marilyn Landis who's run for this seat multiple times, so she's got the name ID. Then you're able to channel national television attention on this race. You're going to get a supercharged electorate, and I think you kind of have that perfect storm that's kind of how you explain a 30-point swing, frankly.
So Matt, let me ask you this question. So Landis, she wins this big swing. She wins this state representative special election. It's headlines essentially saying this is the trend for 2024. But I missed those headlines back in the fall when Louisiana, my home state, had their midterm. They had their elections, which are off-year elections, and the Republicans swept the state, including a very pro-life governor we now have, Jeff Landry. He won. He was the attorney general who actually advanced a number of pro-life battles, even all the way to the Supreme Court. He won in the primary. First time that's happened in a long time. But I must have missed the media headline saying that was a trend.
Right, Tony. I'm not going to hold my breath for the media to trumpet a pro-life victory. And you're absolutely right. I think we need to take each election as its own instance. I mentioned earlier kind of that perfect storm that landed on this one, and you mentioned the Louisiana example as well. And there's plenty to take away from that example. I remember looking at some precinct-level data in the New Orleans area. And you saw a drop-off in participation among key Democrat voting blocks. 40, 50%. I mean, just catastrophic results. And I didn't really see that make the headlines. So, and you think back to other special elections. I remember in 2022, you had that Rio Grande Valley special election at Texas 34, where Mayra Flores won that. That was, again, a 30-point swing. In the other direction, different result in the 2022 midterms when the Democrats won that. So you get a tight election in these special elections where you have super low turnouts.
So here's the takeaway, as I see it, Matt, is that you just need to vote and ignore what the media is saying about the trends, because you determine the trends by whether or not you show up to vote.
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned earlier that the result of this one, 62% for Marilyn Landis. But that 62% is a little misleading here when you talk about a race of 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 votes total. You get a few, around the edges, some different results in some precincts. A few, people talk to their neighbors about the importance of this election, and you can get a dramatically different result.
Yeah, it all comes down to voting. People need to register.
Absolutely.
Folks, you need to register, you need to be informed, and you need to vote. Matt Carpenter, thanks so much for giving us an update.
Thanks for having me, Tony.